Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, but the left will never admit it. This is according to a Hill opinion piece by Douglas McKinnon. Is he true? Is he right? Does Trump really deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? This is kind of a hilarious question for me because it makes me think back to like 2016 when Trump first got elected. And I just remember everybody that hated Trump were saying that he was going to start World War III somehow. Like he was just randomly going to like accidentally hit. They thought he was like such a wild card and so out there that he was just going to like accidentally hit the nuclear launch codes or something just randomly when he was trying to order like a Diet Coke or something.
The red button. Yeah. Did you know he actually teased people with that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
He actually has a button in there where if he presses it, he will get a Coke. And he's done that before where he's teased people don't come in and he presses it and they're like, what's going on?
He was like, this call isn't going well. I'm going to have to press this. And he pushes it and the guy's like, what is this? And then the guy comes in and he's like, oh, it's just the Diet Coke button.
I knew about the Diet Coke button. I didn't know that he had teased people. I think it might be something else. That's hilarious. Well, let's talk about this because there's actually a few things that there's so much stuff that's happened this year that I didn't even know about all this stuff. So let's talk about the things that Trump has done and then we can discuss, does this warrant a Nobel Peace Prize? And what are his chances of getting one? So I didn't even know about this. Y'all have to let me know if y'all have heard anything about this. So recently, Thailand and Cambodia, which are two countries I admittedly know very little about, apparently they have been kind of feuding for like the last 500 years. So very regularly, they end up fighting super regularly, apparently, but they haven't had a major outbreak in over a decade. But this was just last month. So July 28th, they began fighting on a Thursday because a landmine exploded on their border and it killed 5 Thai soldiers. And both the countries blamed each other for starting the fighting, right? So the conflict breaks out on a Thursday. It's the worst fighting the countries have had in over a decade. Like I said, within just a few days of fighting, 43 people were killed. And they had to move 300,000 people in both countries. 300,000 people were displaced because of the violence that was occurring. And so within 2 days, Trump gets a meeting with both of the country leaders. They talk it out over the weekend. And then on Monday, he announces that he's got them to sign a ceasefire. And so he urged them to make a ceasefire. And he told them that basically the United States was not going to bring them to the trading table while they were fighting. What that means is he's basically threatening them with tariffs because Trump has threatened all countries with tariffs if they don't come to the trading table and make a deal with the United States. So he's saying, I'm not going to make a deal with you guys while you're fighting, which means that eventually that's going to bump up the tariffs on them and it's going to reduce trade between them and the United States. And so with trade, the promise of better trade deals and also threatening them with tariffs, he got them to sit down to have a ceasefire deal. And so like I said, fighting began Thursday. Talks happened over the weekend. He announced a ceasefire on Monday. So on Monday, that was him. This is him telling reporters about the ceasefire. He says about the two countries, they've been fighting for 500 years intermittently, and we solved that war. We solved it through trade. I said, I don't want to trade with anybody that's killing each other. So we just got that one solved. And I'm going to call the two prime ministers who I get along with very well, and speak to them right after this meeting and congratulate them. But it was an honor to be involved in that. That was going to be a very nasty war. And then Cambodia has actually already come out and nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, literally for, stopping this conflict between Cambodia and Thailand. And then at the same time, White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt also on X called for Trump to receive the Nobel Peace Prize as well. So you guys familiar with this conflict? Because this is one I literally never even heard of.
Yeah, this is why they call him Daddy Trump, because he comes in and resolves the fighting issues between the little kids and says, you're not going to get dessert if you keep doing that. And then go, okay, sorry. And then everything's fine.
Oh, man. That's good. That's a good characterization of that. I think I'm
not joking. I'm not the one who came up with that.
I think I get it now. I thought it was a little bit weird, but now it's like, well, maybe it sounds weird, but it's actually very fitting. So that's good news. I was not actually aware of much about this conflict at all. And my jaw dropped when you said Cambodia is the one that recommended. It wasn't even somebody in his own cabinet. It wasn't even somebody in his own government. Like that's incredible. And I was just looking at the requirements for eligibility criteria, and I've seen some other past ones that are interesting. And if he doesn't get one, I don't know who should get one. So yeah, I think that's great news.
Yeah, solving a conflict within a few days. That's a pretty big deal. Obviously, stopped a lot of lives from being killed just within a couple of days of fighting. Like I said, 43 people were killed. So if he hadn't swooped in and, stopped the fighting within a few days, another week goes by, 2 weeks go by, that same rate, you can imagine dozens and dozens more people being killed in this conflict. Yeah. Did you have another thought about this, Doug, or should I move on?
I was just going to say, I saw Caroline Levitt, her post on it, and I just glanced at it, and it kind of didn't honestly come as a shock to me, so I didn't really look into it. I was just like, oh, that's cool, moving on. But my thought was, is it just they're calling for him to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, right? But is there more than just the Cambodia and Thailand thing, or is this also including maybe some peace efforts in other areas?
There's definitely more. Let me get into the more, but you want to comment on that, Ryan?
Well, I was just going to say, I was going to name some others, but it sounds like you got a list here. But let's say, what's the eligibility criteria for a Nobel Peace Prize? Can I give that real quick? Yeah. So individuals or organizations, which means groups, movements, or institutions, are eligible if the nominee must have significant contributions to peace, such as promoting fraternity between nations, advancing disarmament or arms control, mediating peace negotiations, and defending human rights and civil liberties. And so it was actually, those requirements are based on the original will of Alfred Nobel in 1895, which specified the Peace Prize to be awarded to, quote, the person who shall have done the most or the best work for the fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. So that's pretty clear, pretty straightforward. I think it's going to be very difficult to make a case that Trump does not hit many home runs in this area. So let's go ahead and continue.
Yeah. So before I get into more of the evidence, I just wanted to pull up this True Social post that Trump made. This was right after the Cambodia and Thailand situation, after he agreed to get them to go to a ceasefire. You can see just at the bottom of his post here, he says, "I have now ended many wars in just 6 months. I am proud to be the president of peace." And so there he is, calling himself the president of peace. And he says he ended many wars. So let's jump into a few more wars that, let's see, is that true? Is it a truthful statement saying that he's ended several wars? So let's talk about Congo and Rwanda. So this is actually interesting. We did an episode on this back in early April. We talked about the conflict happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Y'all might remember that essentially there was a bunch of fighting on the east side of the Congo, the east side of their country, because there's 100 different armed rebel groups that are taking over that part of the country. And the biggest of the group, a group called the M23 rebels, are being backed by Rwanda, who is on the right side. And there's history that goes back to the 90s, and you'll probably remember the Rwandan genocide. It has a lot to do with that, with the two different ethnic groups, that situation. There's a lot of beef and battling between these two countries that has to do with that. So this has been going on for decades. And this was new to me. I had to look up and be like, what has Trump done to bring peace that makes people think that he should have a Nobel Peace Prize? I did not realize that this is something that also happened. This is crazy. So this article says Trump helped these African countries sign a peace deal. Here's what we know. I did not know that this is something that Trump did. This was new for me. So here's the thing. So we already talked about this on that one episode. But basically what he did was, this was on June 27th. So this is over a month ago now, but he had both the foreign ministers of the the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. He had them at the White House. Here's a picture of them, the two of them right there. And he had them sign a peace deal between the two countries. So this was a major step toward ending like I said, a decades-long conflict that has killed millions of people and killed thousands of people literally just this year with the rebels fighting in the Congo. And I already mentioned, of course, the biggest fighting group is the M23 rebels, who are backed by Rwanda. And so some details of this deal is it emphasizes that the two countries are, separate sovereign nations, their territorial integrity, and it emphasizes their peaceful coexistence with a commitment to halt all hostilities and any support for armed groups. So sounds pretty good. It includes a commitment to protect and facilitate humanitarian access for displaced people in Congo, which is estimated to be about 7 million displaced people in the Congo. So it's they're committing to try to take care of those people. And the two countries have also committed to creating an economic framework. So this is par for the course as far as Trump's concerned, to expand foreign trade and investment derived from regional critical minerals supply chains, including ones that link both countries in partnerships as appropriate with the U.S. government and U.S. investors. So we talked about that in the Congo episode, how the Congo and the area has like a bunch of minerals. And that's something that obviously Trump wants for the United States, is better trade so the minerals come to the United States and don't end up going to China. There's a lot of things we could talk about that. But this is something that the UN, they've called the Congo-Rwanda conflict one of the most protracted, complex, serious humanitarian crises on the earth. And Trump will undermine, I completely missed it, but apparently he pressured both countries, again, through trade, to take a massive step towards ending this conflict. So what do you guys know about this? Was this news to y'all?
You missed it because the mainstream media obviously covers it, but they won't push it. They don't really want people knowing. They have to do their job and report on these things, but they just kind of then pretend like it didn't happen. Like, oh yeah, we posted that article, but we're certainly not going to try to make it pop up on the top of the Google breaking news feed.
Yeah, I was shocked to find honestly, this AP article, I was shocked reading through it and being like, wow, they are having to admit that Trump has literally done like something that's objectively good. Like I don't know how you could say like Trump is keeping people from the Congo from murdering each other. Like I cannot figure out how you could say there's something, but I will say there's already lots of articles out there that are saying that Trump is only doing this because he wants to steal all the minerals in Congo, essentially. So he's like, this is actually just because Trump only cares about getting rich and making the United States rich. He doesn't care about these two countries. Which is like, okay, well, we can talk about trade and who's going to get the minerals and stuff. But that's quite the take for Trump basically trying to end genocide occurring over here.
Yeah, that is quite the take. I mean, I think it's better than what China's motivation would be, which would be to just put them in a debt trap and then they have to give them the minerals in order to get out of it. So I'd say this is a little more honorable way to go about it, but I don't think that is his end goal. I did see this press conference. I think I watched it live or shortly after it happened. And so I remember just being shocked because it was very it was not a big deal elsewhere, but I saw this and I'm just like, how is this not everybody talking about this? Like, it's such a huge deal because it's a very straightforward, very clear-cut win, for everybody, for the continent, for the U.S., for everybody. So I think it's, I was shocked to see it wasn't being talked about.
Yeah, it's basically a win for everybody except for probably the M23 rebels and also China, who benefited from this conflict as well, because it gives them an inroad to also kind of like siphon off the minerals through more illegitimate means, essentially like buying them off of the rebels who are, taking over the mines and stuff like that and doing things in a non-peaceful way. So I thought this was absolutely incredible. I was shocked by this. I was like, all right, somebody, I don't know if yeah, I don't think somebody actually nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize for this specifically, but this was a big one. And I'm going to run through a few quick honorable mentions, and then we'll talk about the Peace Prize some more. So Pakistan has nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize because we did a whole episode on this, so I'm not going to badger it here. But the Pakistan and India conflict that occurred recently, and, many have kind of touted Trump for kind of like stopping World War III from breaking out, or I don't know if it's quite as serious as that. But Pakistan was backed up by China. So, if that
I think it was that serious.
What?
I think it was that serious. I think that if it weren't for Trump being in office and doing that, we probably would have ended up in some kind of variance of World War III, at least.
It could have been a major escalation. Absolutely.
Or at least some sort of involvement in something overseas that we didn't need to be involved in.
Right. Yeah.
From a troop standpoint. Yeah.
Afghanistan or whatever. Yeah. That's what it looked like.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. So that was a big one. The United States stepped in, brokered a ceasefire deal between Pakistan and India. Pakistan, like I said, nominated Trump for Nobel Peace Prize for, quote, his decisive diplomatic intervention and his stellar statesmanship. So that's Pakistan saying that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for that. Israel has nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. This is primarily for facilitating the Abraham Accords, which established diplomatic ties and normalization between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Morocco. And so that's what they nominated him for.
Sudan.
Trump also got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize after taking out the Iran nuclear facilities. So that one's a little bit funky because that doesn't sound very peaceful because he was dropping bombs on Iran. However, as Representative Buddy Carter put it, he was the one that nominated Trump for this, a U.S. representative. He said that Trump prevented the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism from obtaining the most lethal weapon on the planet.
Right.
And so if you want to consider that to be an act of peacemaking, basically wiped out nuclear facilities. And it was kind of funny, actually, because the Nobel Peace Prize, that's kind of a big thing that it focuses on, is actually people removing nuclear weapons. And so I was like, well, hey, he removed nuclear weapons.
That's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it. So
hey,
minimum casualties too, right?
That's interesting.
Was there like any casualties? I don't remember.
There definitely was casualties. The casualties were just I say just, I mean, loss of life is always sad, but the casualties, of course, were Iranians who were in the facilities enriching enriching the material in order to make a nuclear bomb, which they were probably going to, use or at least threaten the world with. So that was the casualties. I mean, it was just the people that were working in the facilities.
I don't remember seeing the numbers. That's why I wasn't sure.
No, I
didn't remember hearing about any of them anyway either. But yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's get into so what's y'all's first thoughts here? What we talked about. Do you think Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize?
I think 100% absolutely. Even if you look at his first term, I mean, so we talked about, we're just scratching the surface here. I mean, Abraham Accords, you already mentioned, he was the first sitting president to meet with North Korea's leader, and he did it in North Korea. Like that is amazing. Like he had de-escalation of Syria and ISIS conflict. He pushed for NATO burden sharing and less global intervention. He pushed for troop withdrawals and not intervention. He actually had a plan to leave Afghanistan in a good way that the Biden regime botched and just totally threw out the window. And the biggest military embarrassment in U.S. history, I think. He has peace talks initiatives worldwide, including the ones we talked about, including Armenia and South Korea, North Korea, India, Pakistan, you mentioned, Kosovo and Serbia and others. He has no new wars started during his presidency, which is, I don't know, I think that's the first U.S. president in decades to not start a war. He had peace. He has a peace through strength doctrine. So the whole point of having the strength is to have peace. And then he shifted the Middle East power balance without war. He is doing direct pressure on China without escalation. And he's using different unorthodox diplomacy and economic means to get peace and to get these things instead of just all out threats and war and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it's just like, well, how on earth could he not have a Nobel Prize? Like this is just all over the place.
Yeah, I think that at this point, with all the evidence, especially that you presented, and I'm sure there's actually more, the only reason to not think that Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize, or to think he shouldn't, I could say, is if you just don't like the guy. That's what it comes down to. That'd be the only reason. You just don't like him.
Yeah.
Or he's just arrogant and he wants to be able to say he did the peace. So that's why he's making peace. It's like, did we get the peace?
If you base it off of speculation, thinking like, well, you just wait, he's going to start World War III, then yeah, I guess you could posit
like how much Kool-Aid do you have to drink to see this and still conclude that he wants World War III? Yeah.
No,
swimming in it.
I totally agree with you guys. I think that it is really interesting to see the from what I could tell, and especially whenever Trump is pushing for peace and achieves peace, the coping that I see for people that don't like Trump, not wanting to admit that Trump has done something good, usually ends up being focusing either on his motives. Like Trump has these motives that I don't like, and that's why he's doing it. So again, it's like, okay, we can talk about those motives and whether or not, which honestly, I think enriching the United States is not a bad motive. As an American, I think that's a good idea. But also it's the beneficial, like, how do you the cooperation between different nations, everybody winning, that kind of thing. It's like, even if you think his motives are bad, which I don't, that's kind of crazy to be like, I'm going to discount every good thing that he's done because of his motives. And then the other one is like you mentioned, Ryan, is the people cope with, well, that's, he's just doing this right now, but he has like if he keeps going and doing and being the way he's going to be, it's going to actually make for more violence and more, World War III is going to break out because of Trump sometime in the future. And of course, at this point in his second term as president, I cannot. You really have to drink the Kool-Aid to think that that's occurring, considering how many conflicts he stopped here. To wrap this up, this opinion piece definitely lays out the fact that they do not think that Trump. Well, they do think that Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize by far because of all the things I mentioned, and Ryan and Doug that you guys have mentioned. But they do not think he is going to get it, and here's why. So this is the author claiming this. I'm not very well informed about this, so I'm basically quoting the author of this opinion piece. He says that the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Prize Committee, because they have more prizes than just the Peace Prize, in the last 30 years has become the poster child for woke leftist propaganda organizations. The committee should admit they've become a full-blown propaganda machine for the far left, especially when it comes to the giving out of the Peace Prize. And so he's saying that they have become such a propaganda machine that nothing they're doing is actually in favor of like an unbiased, search for peace. They're actually just there trying to congratulate and applaud and give prizes to the left because they're kind of pushing left propaganda. He says the left is incapable of admitting Trump has ever accomplished anything good, so the committee will not award him one. And that's for the reasons that I just shared. The left does seem to be pretty incapable of saying Trump's accomplished something good, because they always cope by leaning back towards saying he has bad motives or just wait, he's going to do something evil in the future. And so, just to kind of highlight how much they have fallen, unfortunately, in the last 30 years. I mean, everybody knows this. Yeah. Absolutely everybody knows this. But I did want to highlight, and I wanted to read what the actual reason was. But Barack Obama was given the Nobel Peace Prize. Everyone should know this in 2009. Mm-hmm. And just for compare him to what Trump has done. So Barack Obama was given it 9 months after coming into office in 2009. 9 months after coming into office, right? The reason stated was, I have it listed right over here. It says, for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples. The only problem with that is he didn't do anything during that 9 months time.
Translation, because we like him.
Exactly, yeah.
And I did a little bit of research, and from what I could tell, and from what people have said about why did he actually get a Peace Prize, when the fact was he didn't do anything that warranted getting a Peace Prize. And the reason was it wasn't because of anything that he did, it was because he had a vision for a world without nuclear weapons. And the committee believed he had potential to
Did he write a 5-paragraph essay on it?
So in other words, he got it for rhetoric, which is how he also got elected.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Not for action.
I stopped taking the Nobel Peace Prize seriously when they handed it to him. That's when I was like, so it doesn't matter then. What you do doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I think we're a couple years late on that. If you look at 2007, what Al Gore got it for, that has all been debunked. They should just put in there made up knowledge about man-made climate change. So that's
at least he
insanity.
Actually was actively.
No, at least nothing, Doug. I'm not going to let you give him anything on that.
No,
that's
no.
pathetic.
I get what Doug is saying here, but think about it this way, Ryan. So obviously I don't believe in the climate change stuff, but Al Gore was doing stuff for a long time. Right. So he was given the Peace Prize for things he was done. But I just want to highlight this. Obama, this is just really interesting. He was given the Peace Prize not for admittedly, they admitted not for anything that he had accomplished, but for his potential and his vision casting. So that's it's very different.
But I would say different, but also equally stupid. Because, if you look at, if I go around, I'm going to spend 10 years telling, look, I'm stopping all the aliens from attacking us. And I'm like, look, no aliens have come. That would be a better claim than Al Gore, who said that ice caps were going to stop in 2013. And all this, it is absolute garbage. It's all made up and it's junk science. So, now I got really excited about that. But no, I think it's all junk. And this just proves your point about it's just went from a trusted institution to a leftist propaganda campaign. And that's what we have with the New York Times and a lot of others.
Participation trophies. That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's a participation trophy for liked politicians.
Something I thought was really interesting. Apparently in 2015, one of the committee members actually came out and admitted that giving Obama the Peace Prize was a mistake. He quotes, even many of Obama's supporters believe that the prize is a mistake. In that sense, the committee didn't achieve what it hoped for. That was his quote about giving it to Obama. And the reason being is, of course, that they gave it to him knowingly that he hadn't accomplished anything yet. And that it was just kind of like we really like this guy. It's like he has potential, so we're going to give it to him. And just compare that to like Jimmy Carter up here. So Jimmy Carter, look at what he got it for his decades of untiring effort to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and promote economic and social development. And I read this and I was like, this is my last point. They could give this paragraph to Trump probably, and give him the Peace Prize, and they'd be good. Like just a little copy of Jimmy Carter's write-up right here. So I was like, this describes
followed up with this more results and receipts
Trump than Obama by a mile. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the same thing as like when the Biden admin and all the other people come out with the job data and then they come back and revise it down and all this. It's just like, oops, we got the headline, but now we'll just correct it in the footnotes and we're good. So, that's kind of like par for the course for the left.
Oh, yeah.